Every great civilization has looked at something older and asked the same terrifying question. What happened to the people who built this? The Egyptians looked at the Sphinx. They didn't know who made it. The Romans excavated ruins they couldn't explain. They called them the work of giants. The ancient Sumerians described their ancestors as gods from the sky. And we, with satellites, particle accelerators and quantum computers, look at Gobekli Tepe, the Nazca lines, the Baghdad Battery. And we say the same thing, we don't know. But here's what's different now. We're starting to suspect someone does. For 2 centuries, mainstream archaeology has had a comfortable timeline. Human civilization began roughly 6,000 years ago. In Mesopotamia, writing was invented, cities were built, and slowly, painfully, we crawled out of the Stone Age. It's a clean story, linear, logical, and increasingly, the evidence says it's incomplete, or worse, because scattered across the globe are structures that don't belong, artifacts that predate the timeline by thousands of years, some by tens of thousands. They suggest levels of knowledge that the official story can't account for. The academic response has been predictable. Ignore it, discredit it, file it away. Researchers who push these questions find their funding gone, their papers rejected, their reputations quietly destroyed. But the stones remain, and the questions only get louder. 3 questions will haunt every mystery in this video. How did ancient people build things that challenge modern engineering? Why do cultures with no contact share the same symbols and myths? And what was destroyed and deliberately forgotten at the end of the last ice age? Hold those questions. The answers are buried in 10 places they hoped you'd never look. Official history places civilizations beginning around 3500 BCE, a world of mud brick cities and early farming. That is the established foundation. Gobekli Tepe destroys it completely. Discovered in southern Turkey in the 1990s, a massive temple complex carved from limestone. Built with extraordinary precision, its stone pillars stand 18 feet tall. Some weigh 20 tons. They are covered in detailed carvings of animals and figures. It is 12,000 years old. That places construction at 9600 BCE, 6,000 years before Stonehenge, 7,000 years before the pyramids, and here is what makes it truly inexplicable. Whoever built it had no metal tools, no wheel, no draft animals, and when they were finished they buried it. Deliberately, intentionally. They covered the entire complex and walked away, as if they were hiding it from something that came after. Less than 5% of the site has been dug up. The deeper they dig, the more advanced it becomes. If this culture existed in 9600 BCE, what else existed with it? What was lost in the 12,000 years of silence? And why did someone work so hard to bury the evidence? Every school child is taught the same story. Slaves dragged stones across the desert. It's simple, satisfying, almost certainly wrong. The Great Pyramid contains 2.3 million stone blocks. Some weigh 80 tons each. It is aligned to true north within 0.05 degrees. More precise than the Greenwich Observatory, built 45 centuries later. Its base covers 13 acres of desert, level to within 2 centimeters across the entire length. With GPS and modern surveying tools, that would be extraordinary. In 2500 BCE, with copper chisels, by any engineering standard it is impossible. But the anomalies go deeper. The speed of light is 299,792 kilometers per second. The Great Pyramid sits at 29.9792 degrees north latitude. Its internal passageways align to Orion's belt, not as it appeared in 2500 BCE, as it appeared in 10,500 BCE. This is either the greatest coincidence in architectural history, or someone encoded a message in stone, a message built to outlast every empire, every flood, every dark age. The question isn't just how they built it, what were they trying to tell us? In 1929, a map was found in a palace in Istanbul, drawn on animal skin, dated to 1513, the work of an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis. He noted in the margins he used far older source maps, some dating back to the age of Alexander the Great. The map was remarkable. What it showed was earth-shattering. It depicted the coastline of Antarctica, a continent not officially discovered until 1820, 3 centuries after this map was drawn. But not Antarctica as it looks today. Today, Antarctica is buried under miles of ice. The map shows the land beneath the ice, the rock, the bedrock coastline, as it would have looked before the Great Freeze, more than 6,000 years ago. In 1960, a U.S. Air Force officer confirmed this in a letter. The map matched classified Navy sonar survey data that required modern technology to produce. Think about what that means. Someone mapped Antarctica thousands of years before modern civilization. From the air, or by ship, while the continent was still free of ice. Someone had the knowledge and reach to map an entire continent, and then that knowledge vanished. Someone sailed every ocean on Earth long before we thought anyone had a boat. Who were they? In 1938, a German archaeologist sorted through a Baghdad museum. He found a small clay jar, roughly 5 inches tall, about 2,000 years old, inside a copper tube. Inside the tube, an iron rod, sealed with dark pitch. Fill the jar with vinegar. It produces 1.5 volts of electric current. This is not a single find. Multiple similar devices have been found across Iraq, Iran, and Egypt. Every replica using only ancient materials generates measurable power. The standard explanation is that they were used for metal coating, and the evidence supports that. Artifacts from the same era show signs of ancient metal plating, but metal coating requires understanding electrical polarity. It requires understanding current flow and chemical reactions. It implies a working knowledge of electricity itself. Centuries before Alessandro Volta invented the battery in 1800, the question mainstream archaeology won't engage with is obvious. If ancient people had electrical technology, what else were they doing with it? In Egyptian temples, strange carved pillars called jed columns appear everywhere, long dismissed as purely symbolic. But what if they depicted something more literal? If this knowledge was lost, how many other technologies went with it? The ancient Indian epic the Mahabharata describes a city called Dwarka, a golden city on the ocean shore, towering walls, grand temples, a harbor for ships from across the world. When the god Krishna departed, the ocean swallowed it whole. For centuries, scholars called it myth, sacred poetry, metaphor. Then, in 2001, Indian Ocean researchers deployed sonar off the northwest coast. What came back silenced the room. 40 feet underwater, a vast grid of structures, walls, streets, foundations, unmistakably urban, stretching across roughly 9 kilometers of ocean floor. Recovered artifacts included pottery, jewelry, and construction material, and most explosively human bone, carbon dated to over 9,000 years old. 9,000 years. 3,000 years before the earliest recognized civilization. In an era mainstream archaeology calls pre-civilizational. The site was flooded when Ice Age sea levels rose. Geologists estimate sea levels rose over 400 feet worldwide, in a geological blink of an eye. That kind of rise erases every coastal settlement on Earth. Dwarka tells us those settlements existed. They had cities, culture, trade, architecture, and the ocean took all of it. How many other Dwarkas are sitting under 40 feet of water right now waiting? The Paracas culture lived on the coast of Peru, roughly 3,000 years ago. Skilled weavers, sophisticated engineers, and the source of a biological mystery that science cannot explain. More than 300 elongated skulls have been recovered from burial sites. They are unlike any other human remains on record. The obvious explanation is head binding. Some cultures bound infants' heads to reshape them as they grew, but head binding changes the shape of a skull. It does not change its volume. The Paracas skulls have 60% more brain volume than normal. They also have only one parietal plate, the bone at the top. All humans have 2. Their eye sockets are significantly larger. Their bone structure is fundamentally different from ours. In 2014, samples from 5 skulls were sent for DNA analysis. The lab initially refused to believe the results. The genetic material contained mutations found in no known human group, past or present. The samples also showed ties to populations in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, not Peru. This is not a fringe claim. This is genetic data from a laboratory. The scientific community's response has been essentially silence. If the Paracas skulls don't belong to any known branch of humanity, what are they? Pumapunku sits nearly 13,000 feet above sea level in Bolivia, one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. The stone components here were not carved, they were machined. That distinction is everything. The blocks weigh over 100 tons, transported from quarries miles away. Their angles are perfect to a fraction of a millimeter. Their drilled holes maintain a uniform width from start to finish. Their surfaces are polished to near mirror finish. Modern stone masons struggle to replicate this with diamond-tipped power tools. One specific component is called the H-block. Its geometry is so complex, archaeologists still can't determine its purpose, let alone how it was made. The mainstream dating places this site around 500 CE. But geological analysis of some components suggests something far older, potentially 12,000 years. The people credited with building it had no writing system, no iron tools, no wheel. And yet, Pumapunku exists. Perhaps they didn't build it at all. Perhaps they simply inherited it. What does it mean when the most precise stonework in human history has no known author? In 1901, sponge divers found a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. Among the cargo, a lump of corroded bronze. It sat unexamined in a museum storage room for 2 years. When it was finally cleaned, archaeologists found something that shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. The Antikythera mechanism, a handheld bronze device, at least 37 interlocking gears of extraordinary precision. It tracks the movements of the sun and moon. It predicts solar and lunar eclipses. It models the orbits of the 5 planets known to the ancient world. It displays the 4-year Olympic cycle, and it accounts for the irregular orbit of the moon, a problem not formally solved by modern astronomers until the 1600s. Nothing like it appears in the record for another 1,400 years. Scanning of the device revealed written instructions on its inner panels. Its astronomical calculations are accurate to fractions of a degree. The gear teeth, barely a millimeter tall, were cut with watchmaker precision. The ancient Greeks were clearly intelligent enough to build this. That is not the question. The question is, where is everything else? Where are the prototypes? The failed experiments? The evolutionary chain that should lead to something this sophisticated? It appeared fully formed, out of nowhere, just like everything else on this list. "217 distinct cultures share one story, separated by oceans, continents, and thousands of years. The Great Flood, the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh predating Genesis by 1,000 years, describes a man warned to build a vessel, load it with animals, survive a flood that destroyed all other life. Hindu sacred texts describe Manu, warned by a fish deity, build a ship, the world is coming. The Aztec Codex describes the sky collapsing into water, a single family surviving in a hollow tree. Norse mythology recounts a world-ending flood. Indigenous peoples from the Amazon to the Pacific Northwest share the same core story. This level of agreement across isolated cultures is not coincidence. It is memory, oral history, witness testimony encoded in myth, and now geology has confirmed it. About 11,600 years ago, sea levels rose with catastrophic speed. The event is called Meltwater Pulse 1A. It flooded 27 million square kilometers of coastal land. 27 million square kilometers, gone, in decades. Those weren't empty coastlines. They were the most fertile livable environments on Earth, exactly where you'd expect the earliest civilizations to emerge. What if the flood myths aren't mythology? What if they're the only history that survived? Of all 10 mysteries, this one may be the most quietly devastating, because it doesn't just suggest a lost civilization, it suggests a lost language. Across every inhabited continent, cultures with no known contact created identical symbols. The spiral, the concentric circle, the serpent eating its own tail, the winged disc, 2 serpents entwined around a central staff. We still use that last symbol today as the sign of medicine. And one more symbol, 2 parallel ribbons twisted around each other, carved in stone thousands of years before modern science had a name for it. The double helix. Researcher Michael Tellinger cataloged over 10,000 shared symbols, spanning every continent and 15,000 years of human history. Researcher William Goduri found precise star alignments in Mayan city placement, The same pattern appears in Egyptian temple sites, in Cambodian temple sites, in ancient ceremonial sites across North America. Either the human mind repeatedly produces the same specific symbols independently, or these symbols came from a single source, one culture, one origin point, that reached every corner of the globe, and then vanished. It left its mark on every sacred site on Earth, and then it disappeared without leaving its name. We opened with a question: who were we before we forgot? 10 mysteries, and the answer isn't clearer, it's larger. Because what every site in this video shares is the outline of something enormous, a civilization or a network of civilizations that achieved what we can barely explain today. And then vanished from the record completely as a name erased from stone. They knew the size of the Earth. They sailed every ocean. They mapped continents hidden under ice. They encoded the speed of light into a pyramid's location. They left identical symbols on every sacred site from Ireland to Cambodia, not because they were superstitious, because they were trying to communicate across time. And then, an event, a catastrophe, a planetary reset that the geology confirms, that the myths remember, that the ruins prove. We are not the first advanced civilization on this planet. We are the survivors of the last one. The evidence is real. Every year, with ground-penetrating radar, sonar, and satellite imagery, they find more. Faster than the gatekeepers can suppress it. The truth is out there. Buried, hidden, or simply waiting to be found. Subscribe and stay with us, because we are just getting started.